Hello everyone, this is Crystal Potthoff, and today we're going to do something that was, I'm going to call it a challenge egg. One of my egg friends, Marcia, sent me a picture of this egg. Well, it wasn't, this is the egg I did. It's not exactly like the one that was in the picture that she sent me, but she said, hey, could we do this in class? And I thought, well, that's kind of complicated. I don't even know if I can do it outside of class, but I'll give it a try. But one of the things that really struck me about this were these octagon shapes on the egg. I really wanted to figure out how to do that. This egg had been washed back about 3 times because I had some difficulties in drawing the pattern on the egg with just the pencil. But I finally figured it out, and I'm not sure this is something I could teach in a class. It would have to be a 2-session class because it takes quite a while to get the division drawn on the egg, but it is a cool division, this part. So I'm going to show you how to do this octagon shape, and then whatever you want to put in these bands. I'll do the whole pattern on an egg, but I'm going to show you how to draw this part, and then I'll do a pattern on an egg and probably do something different in the bands. So let me show you how I do this octagon. It took me quite a bit of a YouTube search to figure out how to do this. So I finally found a YouTube video, and I will link it, on how to draw an octagon. So you need to have 3 squares to do an octagon. And I'm just going to draw these out. Now, if I want to draw an octagon shape, what I would do, and I'm going to get a different color pencil. I'm going to use a red, so hopefully you can see it. So if I'm going to draw an octagon shape, and I have 9 squares, 3 by 3. So I'm going to draw one there, one there, one there. So that's 1, 2, 3. There's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have an octagon. Now on this design, there is also a square in between each octagon and above and below it. So in between it, we can easily draw it here. But we're going to need another band here to get the rest of it on there. And I think theoretically you could probably draw more octagons above and below it, but they would get a little bit different shape because the egg is going to get narrower and on the end. So I'm just going to do it here in the band. So next, if I wanted to do another one, I would do this. 2, 1, 2, there's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And do that around the egg. Now, what that means is you have to grid out at least the center part of the egg. And on this one has 7 octagons, which seems odd. It seems like I should have 8 octagons, but I had 7. So I couldn't use my template to divide it into even pieces. And the reason I came up with 7 was it was 14 centimeters around the egg. So I divided that by 2, came up with 7. So so what I did was I made 1/2 centimeter squares to draw out the pattern. So that's what we're going to do next. I'm going to show you how I did that, and then we'll draw that out and then on the egg, and then we'll start putting some wax on it. So as I said, on this one, there are 7 octagons around it. I am going to try to do this one with 8. So what I'm going to do is divide the egg at the 90, 60, 45, 90, 45, 90, 60, 45, 90, and 45. So I'm going to draw those lines all the way around the egg. And I'm drawing them. I'm going to draw them a little darker than I would normally. Because I want you to be able to see them. Oh, it wasn't the straightest of lines, but that'll be okay. Now, if you wanted to, you could draw these as dotted lines until you decided where you were going to put the wax on it. So now what I want to do is draw my equator line. And we'll get that measured out. So the chicken eggs, in the US, the large chicken eggs are about 8 centimeters from top to bottom. So measure that out. I really wish now I would have drawn this one as a dotted line, because that one I definitely do not want to put wax on. All right. So the key is, and our diagram here, you can see that each one of these is 4 across, 4 this way, and 5 this way. So I want to measure, what is my distance? Let's use the part that we can see. It is about, it's not quite 2. It's like 1.8. And that's going to vary. So I'm measuring from this line to this line. So we'll say, because you got to use some math. So we'll say there's about half, and there's half, and there's half. So I'm going to divide all of those. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to draw a whole, well, I shouldn't say a whole bunch. So I'm not going to put wax on this line, because so I want one that goes above and below that. So we're put it here and here. Now what I'm going to do is draw, okay, so that's 1, that's 2, that's 3, 4, and 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so I'm going to get my lathe and draw these lines here. They're going to go all the way around, and then I'm going to come back and draw these lines. and hopefully they'll be pretty square or square enough to do our octagon. So now I'm going to get my lathe out. I'm going to draw these lines going around here. Then I will divide each one of these sections with long lines, and then I'll draw the octagon. Okay, I got a bit of a mess. I don't know if you could have seen it while I was drawing it, but this equator line is pretty sloppy. Anyway, so we're going to try our best just to eyeball these. And I'll get these all the way around each section. They're not going to be perfectly square because it's a rounded surface and it's narrower on one end and bigger on the other, so it's not going to be perfect, but it'll be fairly close. So if you're following along at home, I would definitely recommend that you do that equator line as a dotted line or maybe a very, very light line so that it's not confusing when you go to draw this pattern, and especially if you don't draw your equator line very straight. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick out this one here, and that will be this square. And now I'm going to draw one. So there's 1 line, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then here's the other one. And there's the other one. So you can kind of see that I've drawn that really, really dark. So now I'm going to do the same thing here. So this will be, don't forget to do this one or it'll throw off your pattern because each one has a square in between it. So I'll tell you right now, this seems pretty simple to me, but I probably spent 3 days trying to figure this out. So you're seeing, like, you know, after Chris has like gone through the pain of it. So anyway, that's okay. I love a challenge, and this one was a challenge. Okay, so I'm going to keep doing that all the way around the egg. So I've gone all the way around, and now I'm meeting up with where I started. And I thought I had this all figured out when I was practicing it, and I got to where they met up, and I didn't have this extra space here, and I was like, oh. So I was one of the times when I had to wash it all off and start over again. So I've drawn these octagons. They're very dark all the way around the egg. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the lathe and add probably another band. I'm probably just going to put one more band up here at the top and the bottom, and then we'll do something up here because what I really want to focus on is doing these octagons. So I'm going to add some more bands and then probably pencil in some more design, and then I'm going to do the trick where I wash the egg off, I'll wash the egg off, and I'll still be able to faintly see the lines on it. So then we'll start waxing the lines. I love this idea of washing off, lightly washing the egg to get the darker lines off so you can start, you can draw your pencil lines, but then wash them off and still be able to see them. But you do have to be careful not to wash too much or you won't be able to see them at all. So now I'm going to start waxing this. So I'm going to start with waxing. I'm using my Luba's electric with a fine tip. I'm going to wax this square that goes in between them. And then I'm going to wax the octagon. And I know you probably can't see the lines on the video, but I can see them. All right, there's my octagon. Now I'll do these here, the ones at the top and the bottom. And the reason I wait until now to do them is because I want them to line up with where I did that part of the octagon. All right, now we'll move on to the next one. And I have found that your octagons look better if you make sure you have nice, sharp angles. Otherwise, they kind of look like a misshapen circle. Okay, so moving right along with that. So I'm going to wax that, and then I will, I'll come back when I get to that point. So I'm back and I'm at my last octagon that will meet up with the first one that I did. And I have to say I was counting these out in my head, you know, making sure I did all 8 sides. And some of my octagons are a little nicer shaped than others. So now that I have all of this done, now what I'm going to do is connect these tops so that they look like one continuous line going across there. And if they're not perfectly straight, I'm not going to get all worried about it. There's enough on this egg that that's not going to be real visible. And we'll do the same thing here on the bottom. All right, now I've decided I want to do a double line, where here it had kind of a thick white line. I think I'm going to do a double line here. So I'm going to draw, I don't have this penciled in, I'm just kind of eyeballing it. Just doing another little line right here. Oops. And I seem to be drawn to these double border type lines. I think they look nice. All right, so now I can barely see this line, but I can see it. So I'm going to wax this line. And then I'll put a double line on this one as well. And we'll put another line right here. One thing I do want to caution you, if you do this process where you draw the lines dark and then you wash the egg off, you want to make sure that the egg is very dry before you start putting the wax on the egg, or the wax could not completely adhere if it's on a wet egg. So similar to when you dye the egg, you want to wait till the egg is dry before you put wax on it. You'll want to do the same thing if you're just washing it with water. So I'm going to do the same thing here on the top. I'm going to put in some more elements, and we'll come back and talk about some of the other things that I want to put on the egg while the shell is still white. So here I have all of the octagons. I have the 2 double lines. And then on the top and the bottom, I attempted to draw an octagon in the top. It kind of worked out. And then I put the 8 points of the star, and then I drew a line here, and I didn't touch it. I kind of liked the look of it not touching. I was trying to make the octagon type shape. I would say it somewhat worked out. On this one, I have these little yellow diamonds. On this one, I'm going to do them in white. So what I did was I lightly penciled, and I did it lightly. You'll just have to trust me on this, using lines that were kind of already there and then drawing in some other ones to kind of divide this up so that I could put a diamond into each one. Now when you're drawing these kind of diamonds, you get a more evenly spaced diamond if you do each one separately, rather than trying and doing something that goes like this. Oops, that didn't show up. So sometimes you try to draw diamonds that go like that, and then you go like that. And well, you know what? That works out very nicely on flat surface, but on an egg surface, it doesn't always work out that way. So you're really better off to draw each one individually, and I'll show you what I mean. Whoops. Oh, that kind of went all my stuff. Okay, so I'm going to draw, here's my center, the center, and go up. And I do try to line up these and those. And then I go on to the next one. I draw, like I said, I draw each one individually. So I'm going to put these on all the way around. Now in here on this one, the only white that was within this center band, other than all the lines, were these little half moon shapes here. So I think I'm going to go ahead and do those. And where those are on each of these lines, like the diagonal lines. So they're on this, 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 and this. And it's just a little bitty half circle is really all it is. And so I'm going to put that in all of these. We'll change it up a little bit. But I kind of like that element, so I'm going to keep that one. All right. So I'm going to put these in all of the octagons, and I'm going to put these diamond shapes in here and in here, and then I will dye my egg in the first color, which I believe I will use yellow. So when I come back, I will have a yellow egg if that's the color I decide to go with. I decided to go with the yellow. And now I'm going to add in my elements that will be yellow. I'll wax those. In the center of each octagon, so here was my sample. I am going to put this star, or it's more of a sun, so it's a little circle. And then it has 8 rays coming out from it. So I'm going to do that. And then I am going to do this V shape with the fringe because I like the fringe. And I am going to do these X's in here. And okay, so I'm using my Lubas Electric with the extra fine tip. So in all the squares, there's an X. And my squares on the sides of the octagons weren't as square. They're a little more rectangle shaped, but we're going to go with it. I think it will look beautiful when it is done. And we'll probably likely change it. But what I like is it kind of creates this yellow line that looks like it's kind of going underneath the white lines. Put a little star there. Star, not a star. Well, I guess the sun is a star. Okay, so I'm going to do that all the way around the band. In here, I'm going to put a yellow dot in each one of these. I'll do that all the way around on the top and the bottom. And then I think what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to do 3 dots. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And that's all I want to do. Now I'm going to go with a different color scheme than what I did here. And after I get all of the elements on here that I want to be yellow, I am going to wash the egg off because I'm going to put it in the very light blue, which is a tablespoon of the prepared light blue dye, a tablespoon of vinegar, and a cup of water. And if I put it in there while the egg is yellow, I will get a lovely shade of green. But I don't want green, I want blue. So I have some work to do on this, and then I will dye the egg in the very light blue, and we'll come back and add some more wax to the egg. Our beautiful Pysanky is now dyed in the very light blue, and I'm going to use my Lubas Electric with the fine tip and apply some wax to the elements that I want to stay light blue. I forgot to mention this earlier, but I've been trying to do a better job of saying which Kiska I'm using. But just because I'm using it doesn't mean you have to use it. If you don't have an electric, you don't need to go out and get an electric to do any of the patterns that I do. You can do them with these. These are the candle heated Kiskas. These are like, I don't know, $7, $8. The electrics can be, I don't know, $40, $50. Some of them are $100. If you're not sure, start off with these. This Pysanky here, I did this whole one using the blue, the medium, and the white, the fine. I did this entire Pysanky with candle heated Kiska. So you don't have to use it. One of the reasons I use it while I'm demonstrating is because I have a very tight workspace. And when I've tried to demonstrate with the candle, it's kind of next to, it kind of like gets, it heats up my phone, which is my camera. And I don't like that. So I've done some demonstrations using it, but I really don't like to because I don't want to burn up my phone. That would be a bad thing. So I'm putting, I did these little white spots on here, and now I'm making a bigger dome shape because I noticed, you know, how you, like, you look at something and then you turn away from it and then you're like, oh, that makes a cross. And so, you know, there's a cross there. It's like, oh, I kind of like that. So that's why I'm doing this. I'm putting these on here. And I'm kind of doing it where the corners meet. And I'm trying to stay away from the sun, but if I go and touch it a little bit, it's okay. Okay, we just got a few more here. And it's allergy season by me, so my voice is a little scratchy and I'm a little sniffly. Fortunately for me, it doesn't last too long. But it does last. Okay, so we did these dome-shaped things here. Now I'm trying to find where I drew stuff on here so I would remember what I wanted to do. Well, okay, so one thing I know I want to do is I'm going to put inside there, right like that. So it's not touching the one I did with the little things on it, but it's right inside it. And because I did this with this one, I'm not going to be able to put little fishnet in there, so I'm just going to fill that in. Okay, so there we go, right like that. Well, do that on all of them, both there and there. And then I haven't decided if I want to put something in here. So let's do the things I know I want to do. So the other thing I know I want to do is on the very top, I want to put some, just some little diagonal lines, like right like that. And then I'm going to put a squiggly line in here. I was going to do dots, but I already have some dots, and I think it would be too many dots. So let's just make this a squiggly line. All right, and then I'll put these on all the rest of them, and I'll do that on the top and the bottom. The other thing I know I want to put on here are these swirly things. So I'm putting it in this area in between here, and it's going to kind of come up and go over. And I'm kind of spacing it point to point here. So that helps me keep it somewhat so that when I get to where I meet up, it meets up. It's not like, oh, I have a teeny tiny space to fill in another swirl. So it just kind of goes up. It touches the one before it. It's another version of kind of this wave. So on this one, I had this. So on this one, I'm doing this. So I'm just doing a little different. The point was I wanted to do the octagon division and then make the rest of the egg my own. So I'll put that all the way around it. And then I am going to dye the egg in light blue. So this is very light blue, then I'll dye it in light blue after I get all of that wax on it. So here we are with our light blue egg, and I'm going to use my fine tip, and I'm going to fill in these areas using my fine just so I can get down to that point. And so I'm going to do that on all of them. Then I'm going to use my medium tip some wax in it there, and I am going to fill in all of these diamonds all the way around. And I will likely look at this under the magnifier to make sure that I have completely covered the area. So we're going to do that. We're going to fill in this area, all of them. And then we're filling in this area between where I did the very light blue line and the white. I'm going to fill in all of those and fill in the center. And you can see with the light blue, I did decide I put some dots around there too. All right. And then I will be dyeing this in the royal blue, and if it's not dark enough, I will dunk it in the black. And I mean, I like put it in the black and take it back out. I want a really deep blue color for the final color, and then it'll be wax off. So I forgot to take a video while I was taking the wax off, but let's do a review. This was the design that is similar to the picture that was shown to me. So the challenge was this octagon shape, which I did figure out. And then this is the reveal. There we have it. It turned out, I like it. However, I lost some of my lines up here. I'm not sure what happened. And down at the bottom, I must not have had good wax coverage. That's all I can say. But anyway, but overall, I do really like this design. I'll have to try it again. But since, I was doing these two, I thought, what the heck? Let's do a goose egg too. Oh, I love this one. I love all of them. So again, I have the octagon shape, and I just went with yellow, 2 shades of green, and purple. And the purple is kind of dark. It's not showing up on the video as well, but there is a contrast between the purple and the black that I used for the final color. So I did the octagon, and then I kind of did this mandala shape that came from one of the Ukrainian gift shop books. I'm not sure which one. But anyway, it was inspired by that. And then the octagon band. So I just love it. Anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in my next video.